Afternoon or evening, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to just wait a few minutes for others to join the webinar. But Sophie, good to see you. Hey, so I didn't ask you, are you in London? Are you based there?
Based in
Gotcha.
the British countryside,
Oh,
almost
okay.
country.
Cool. I was born in Wembley.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. That's
Yeah.
literally a hop away.
Yeah, right by the stadium. Yeah. So I used to hear all the football matches, at night. It was fun as a kid. So,
Big
but
com A lot of big
yeah,
moments have happened at Wembley.
yeah. So, but by seven, I was in the U.S. So it was early years, but memorable. So, have you been there long, in London?
About 10 years now.
Oh, okay,
Back from
gotcha.
the US. We were in the US for 10 years with my husband. And
Oh,
then we went through Paris because I'm
mm,
French. We tried Paris and then hopped over to London.
yeah. Where were you in the U.S.?
So I started in New York, then moved to California. I was my MBA there, and then moved to Seattle with my husband.
What part of California, north or south?
Palo Alto,
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, just I'll
Silicon
be there
Valley,
today, later today for a meeting.
and
But yeah,
Seattle.
perfect.
It's nice. It's a great part of the world. A lot of things happening.
Yeah, there's a lot happening out here. So, but I'm back and forth to LA. I was at LA Tech Week 2 weeks ago, so I was down there. Very different, I would say a lot more consumer tech, climate tech, obviously Hollywood and content creation related things.
Yeah.
Um, and you build products in the Bay and you test them in LA, where you've got so many different cultures and people and audiences, and it's easy to kind of go see what's going to happen, and you come back to the lab up north to keep iterating and building. That's kind of the play. But,
Yeah.
um, okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's see. I think we've got enough of a contingency and we'll just get started, Sophie. So again, Sophie, thank you so much for joining. Welcome. I really read your background, and you've got a great experience in lots of different industries in fintech, consumer marketplaces. So really appreciate you joining us today. So let's kick off with, yeah, sorry. Let's kick off with this, which is, we have a lot in common, the two companies, right? So Think&Grow is involved in a lot of expansion and new market development for SaaS companies globally for a decade. Localized fits into that box, helping them accelerate their localization efforts. And that's really something I've seen change, with the use of AI. And so now you're able to expand and land in a new market and really accelerate the growth and opportunity there. So tell me more about that, what you're seeing, and how has AI really helped change the landscape?
So it's changed the landscape quite drastically in localization. If you think of localization a few years ago, it was mostly workflow management, approval, and distribution really of the work that had to be done to various to translators,
Hmm.
and then back and approval. Uh, Now with the platforms like Localized, you can automate a lot of that process, and so you have very high level of automation. You have AI powered translation, and it's actually a lot harder to do AI powered translation than people think. It's not just let me put it in ChatGPT and retrieve. There's a lot of AI orchestration to make sure that you have the right context and the right quality. But really today, if you are and in Europe, actually, companies go international and multi-language sooner because their market is smaller. In the US, we see that it typically is a bit later in their development. But in Europe, you see these companies go from the very early stages going
Yeah.
international. It's a lot easier to do now. It's a lot cheaper. You can do it a lot faster. You can launch with Localize, you can launch a new product feature in 13 languages in 5 hours.
That's
And
amazing.
so that continuous localization flow and automation and AI localization is now something that it's a reality for customers. And then customers choose, where do I
Mm,
really want to have human oversight, human creativity, human approval, make sure that what I localize has been done in the best possible way. But it has become super very easy to do and very
sure.
automated.
Sure. That's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, scaling a business globally, I mean, 5 hours versus, I don't know if it would even be 5 months. It would take longer to do what you just said for a product in 13 different languages, you know. And you know, you personally have scaled a lot of businesses, right? So, we fintech, travel, B2B software, SaaS companies. Let's talk about that in terms of, you know, as you move from industry to industry, not just companies in a same sector, but industry to industry. What are some of the things that you took as part of your next stage growth or scale up playbook that traveled well across those different industries?
Um, but it actually travels well across different. There's a lot of that is applicable across all of those B2B, B2C marketplaces, fintech. Um, because when you the way I think of scaling is that I don't think scaling is the sexy bit. um, People think scaling is sexy. Scaling is a lot about fixing problems, finding
Mm,
solutions, finding your next level of growth. And it actually helps to have B2C, B2B different domains, because it gives you a lot broader playbook and
mm.
experience for how you're going to solve those problems.
Yeah.
If you're lucky when you scale, you start with a very good product market fit, and it's small, and you just have to make it bigger, but that's very, very rare. Usually, by the time you scale, there's more competition, your customer needs have evolved, and it's all about the problem solving. So I have found that having a range of different industry experiences helps you find more creative solutions, really. And then for the
Sure.
specifics of the industry, you bring in experts. So in fintech, you have to understand compliance. In rail
Sure.
travel, you have to understand local government regulation. In marketplaces, you have to understand supply and demand balance and inventory management.
Mm,
You bring the
yeah.
experts, learn.
Yeah. Well, when you look at that first 90 days for you, as you enter a new business, right? And maybe even tell us about what at Localized, what happened, or one of your stories of the great companies you've built. But when you step into a business that first 90 days, what's kind of your 90-day, not the whole plan, but like the first diagnosis that you make to either unblock or find those paths where you can see, oh, here's ways we can accelerate growth or unblock growth, whatever the case might be, you know.
So the first 90 day, I think everyone in their first 90-day does this. You listen a lot. So you listen to your customers, you listen to your team, your prospects, your competitors, you learn.
Mm.
I the When I look back, because I've onboarded quite a few times, when I look back, I always feel uh, it. I was too tempted to go into quick wins, and
Uh,
those wins, they drag you down the detail. Like stay for as long as you can. You have those 2 months to learn. Don't go down too quickly. Get that full picture. You will regret it later on. So take that time to really listen. And
mm,
like one of the things I've learned is when I'm onboarding in that first 90 day, the thing you have to choose very quickly is, am I doing a strategy onboarding or am I doing an ops onboarding?
mm,
If you need to fix the strategy because the job to be done has changed or the business model has changed, like when you join that business, what has to be really joined? If it's strategic, because of competition, because of how that world has evolved, it's a very different onboarding than if it's an ops onboarding.
Yeah.
At Localize, actually, the strategy was quite straightforward. The founders had started it in a direction that made a lot of sense. And so my onboarding was a lot more, all right, like that direction is fine. What I need to onboard on is not the strategy and the job to be done and the business model. It's a lot more, how do we get the execution right?
Mm.
And how do we and I think you have to decide that very quickly. And we actually at so they say in the first 90 days you need to look at the strategy and then you need to decide the execution. It was quite quickly clear to me that we didn't have it was not the strategy, it was onboarding. Therefore, we even said to the team, we're not even looking at the strategy. We'll deal with the strategy in 8, 9 months. We'll do a deep dive. The strategy is fine. It's all about execution, getting the right teams in place, getting the right execution, getting the right rhythm in the
Yeah,
business.
yeah.
I think that's
And
very
then
important. 90 days.
sure. And I feel like when you're doing that and it's an operational kind of execution that you're after, it's a lot of blocking and tackling. Like there's just a lot of things to do, and you got to do it the right time frame, and the pieces, and the people, and changing processes. So it's a lot of work like that. Not that strategic changes aren't either, but it's just different because there's and I want to hear from you, not me, but I would like to hear your thoughts about when you've had those moments where it hasn't been an operational change, but it's more about strategy and like getting the right strategy and figuring out whether it's product fit or the way to enter the market or how to win over competition. Like, tell me about one of those because they're very interesting and it's a lot of work, but it's less like tactical.
Yeah. So one of those, for example, in fintech remittance. So I joined. It was WorldRemit.
Yeah.
WorldRemit was built on the premise that it was one of the first companies to do a true digital value proposition
Okay.
for remittance. So this is migrants who left their home, live in a different country, and then send money back to typically Philippines, Nigeria, Kenya, Mexico. So you have they're called corridors, but you have big corridors of money movements like that. Um,
Mhm.
and so when I joined the business, it was like they had built a fantastic platform and business, but competition was different. Like you have those moments where you have a disruption, and part of that disruption was the business was built. The business built its own tech stack for fintech remittance because it didn't exist. And then over the
Uh,
year, you have this fintech as a service almost started to be built up where you can outsource, you can buy solutions for compliance and you can buy solutions for ID verification. And so it suddenly changes who is competing with you because they can leapfrog all the work that you have done. They can just buy that tech stack as a part of that tech stack as a service. It changes how you're going to make money. It changes your business model. And so it's those moments where you say, all right, we have all that great customer base and we have a brand and we have a value proposition, but the next years are very different. And so
yeah,
you
yeah,
have to have courage to say, all right, forget about what we've done and what we've built and what we have pride in. In 5 years, what will really matter?
yeah,
What will be my moats? And what do I break? Because it doesn't matter now that I might have had the best back then. It doesn't matter anymore because my competitor can just leapfrog me. And so it's
yeah.
those moments where you just think, what am I going to rebuild?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I think in general with businesses, you really have to have a constant mindset to make sure that you are trying to future-proof the business, right? And skating to the puck, right? So you're thinking about what's going to happen over there in 3 years. So that's a good story on the fintech side. So, switching gears a little bit, so I'd love to hear from you a story about where your growth plan and your entry into a business and some of the pieces of what you were planning and doing didn't work out, and so love to hear that.
I wish I didn't have a long list of examples for that.
We're going an
um,
hour. We're gonna go an
Lol,
hour for you.
yeah.
It's okay.
Um,
Yeah,
Actually,
I love it.
take localized. So localized was really built on the premise that localization needs to become very intuitive, very simple, so that anyone in the business can drag and drop and make it easy. And uh, and it was therefore very natural to have a solution that was very product led. So when the founder started the business, and it was 100% product led to start with,
Hmm. Yeah.
grew really fast. By the time I joined, we had both a product led motion and a sales led motion. We were looking at what do we need to fix, and I made the wrong decision. I thought I thought fixing or getting more investment behind our product-led growth would be the easiest way to get oxygen into the business while we were fixing everything else. And actually didn't pan out. I think partly because the customer journey had been worked on quite a few years, many times, and so it was uh, not optimal, but it was already in good shape. What we needed to change to make it even better was a real step change that required other changes in the organization that would take time. And so we tried to get more oxygen from product-led growth, and that didn't work. And I wish I had spent more time upfront already doing the sales-led motion.
Hey, so speaking of PLG versus sales-led growth, like how do you just for you've done this at multiple companies, like how do you end up seeing the time management and the resource allocation across those two things for businesses, and how is that different at different stages for a business, right? So just like to hear your thoughts on that, and
Well, ideally, your entire business is no touch, right?
wouldn't
That
that be
that's
great? Wouldn't that be great? Just
so
be at the
ideally.
beach.
So the way we look at it is, look, we want to make sure that customers can do as much on their own as possible, because if they can do that, it means it's intuitive and it's easy, and
Right.
they can serve. Localization is actually not that easy.
Mm.
It comes when you think of uh, uh, the tech stack and the marketeer experience. Localization is usually an afterthought, right? You have your
Yeah.
CMS, you have your code, you have your product, and then you think, oh, I need to make this go into different languages. And so it's complex because it has to fit whatever process and whatever tech our customers have. And this is
Mm.
why the way for us to differentiate between those two is there are customers who can onboard on their own and it's self-serve, and there are customers who have a reality where actually being getting more support
Yeah.
from our teams for onboarding is important to their journey. Over time, I would love for these to be able to, for customers to be able to do everything on their own. We're not there yet, and so the way we really differentiate is. Uh, we can support you um, for those customers who have more complex journeys.
Yeah. So you have, you just have tiers and service and support for some and enterprise
Yes.
customers, et cetera. So we're running on time here. Let's do this. I just wanted to see if there's any questions here for us. Let's just checking. Yeah, if anyone wants to ask any questions of Sophie, please just pop them into the chat. We'll get them kind of handled for you. Sophie, maybe we have no questions. Your communication's been so great. They have nothing to ask, maybe, but
I agree.
yeah. But this has been
That's
great.
it.
We'll give it a second to see if anybody says anything. We did get a comment. It's been fire, so there's that. So, um, but yeah, I really appreciate your time today. I'll just check one more time to see if we have any questions. No. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Look forward to catching up with you post webinar or some other stuff. And thank you once again, Sophie.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Thanks, Raj. It's a great
Right.
series.
Well, we have a question. I think we should ask it. What is a funny? Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's interesting. What's a funny localization fail you've heard from companies where they tried to localize and maybe they had some language kind of mix-ups and said this or that, you know?
There are quite a few in the industry. There are actually different types. There's some localization. Localization needs context. And so if you're localizing your app, for example, we have luckily that was with a competitor, not with us, but instead of translating back, you know how you go backwards in your app, that back button in German, there are two words for back. There's back for backwards and there's back for behind your shoulders.
Ah,
And so when it says behind your shoulders equivalent for back, that's that's not quite intuitive for customers. But you also have a lot of translation gone wrong, like embarrassing. When medical devices who get translated sexually transmittable diseases or translation which are taken out of context and uh, becomes more slang or just embarrassing.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
there,
No,
there's
thanks.
there's one example I think of there was a collection of World War II era infantry figurines, like these small figurines, translated as Russian toddlers. So you know when you're
Oh,
in a marketplace and you're selling figurine, it's different from selling Russian toddlers.
yeah,
Uh,
a little.
All these small things that you have to catch, and
Yeah,
it needs a lot of context.
that's funny. All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate it. Have a good evening there in London. Thanks to everyone who joined us today, and we will catch you next time on Scaling SaaS.